Welcome to the Airbnb Roadmap, the podcast designed to navigate you through the entire journey of short-term rental success, whether you're just starting out or ready to take your hosting game to the next level. My husband and I became super hosts within just months of launching our first Airbnb and have proudly kept that title ever since. With over 300 reviews and an overall 4.95 star ratings, we picked up a hack or two I'm excited to share with you. In each episode, I break down the strategies, insights, and industry secrets that set profitable short-term rentals apart. From choosing the right property, understanding local regulations, and obtaining your first listing to go beyond just the basics, I'm here to share everything you need to succeed. So, if you're ready to map out your path to Airbnb success and unlock the full potential of short-term rentals, join me on the Airbnb Roadmap. Your journey starts here. Hey, I'm Brittany Wenninger, and in today's episode, we are getting personal. My husband Clay and I are on a hunt for our next short-term rental, and guess what? Knowing too much has made us picky. Like, very picky. Maybe a little bit too picky. If you've ever felt paralyzed by too much information, this one's for you. There's a quote that I really like from Mr. Albert Einstein. What a dude. The quote that he has said is, "A little information is dangerous, but so is a lot." And I find that this quote is so true because when we bought our very first short-term rental, we literally just took the leap of faith. We're like, we don't know what we're doing, but hey, we're just gonna go for it. And now I feel like that since I have helped so many short-term rental clients that I know exactly what to look for. And since we have renovated all of our cabins, Clay knows exactly what to look for when it comes to renovations. So both of our brains combined, we know a thing or two, but we might know too much information. Now, I know too much information is not really a thing because education and knowledge is king, but it just has us so picky. For example, we are actually looking at a short-term rental right now. We checked it out over the weekend and we like it. Now, the funny thing is that I'm a real estate agent. I should be finding all of these short-term rentals, but the funny fact is that my husband actually has found every single one of our properties. Probably because I'm just a little, I don't want to say the word lazy, because it's not lazy. I just focus my time and energy on our clients and not actually ourselves, even though we are like always looking. But in my eyes, clients are first. So for example, there was a really cute cabin by Wisconsin Dells, and this cabin was perfect. I was like, okay, like if my clients don't get this, I'm getting it. And since I did have buyers for this cabin, I reached out to them first to see if they wanted to, purchase it, grab it up. And they did, which I'm very thankful for because, it's a perfect cabin for them too. But if they didn't, then that little sucker would have been ours. And I straight up told them, I was like, hey, if you guys don't get this, I will. So if this is not up your alley, then just let's move on. But I want to definitely show you this first before I make any moves. So that's just an example of clients come first. For this property, it's definitely out of my range for like the area that I service for real estate. So, not telling people about this property, I'm not really too heartbroken over it because I personally would never drive that far for my clients. So that's why we are now looking at it, checking it out. And again, my husband found it. He sent it to me on Zillow, which is funny because I really hate Zillow. So I usually look it up on homes.com. So he's like a total Zillow person. I'm a homes.com person. But anyways, he sent it to me and I was like, oh, love at first sight. I love this. Let's go check it out. So we take a weekend, we drive up and we looked at the property. Our first reaction was, dang, this is super cute. I can just see this on Airbnb and being a scroll stopper just by the exterior look of it. We walked around the outside and, things were looking good and whatnot. The yard is huge. It's flat. It butts up to a body of water, which obviously we love. But there are some things that we weren't so crazy about. If this house would have been our first or our second, we would have probably still said yes. Now, the reason why we are kind of hesitating for this property is because we don't have the little twinkle in our eye. Yes, that's what we always say. Like for our very first property, Clay had the twinkle. Our second property, Clay had the twinkle, and so on. But for this one, it's not really there. And I don't really know why we don't have the twinkle. Like, it's a really cute property. We do need to do some renovations. And I think that could be part of it, that it's hours away from us. So usually all of our cabins are like within an hour and a half. This one is further than that. And we still have to do renovations. So I'm not really sure if that is our hiccup. As I'm talking to you right now, like we still have not put an offer in on this house. And I'm literally talking it through out loud to you because I'm trying to figure out if this house is still a go, or if we just kind of move on because we don't have that twinkle. But in reality, we're not going to get the twinkle for every single house. Like, that's just not a thing, I don't think. So when we walked into this property, we're like, oh gosh, like, this is super cool. But when we got a closer look, we noticed that half of the windows need to be replaced. Do they need to be replaced right now? No. But down the road, they do need to be replaced. And it's the type of old window that they don't really open. So this house was built in 1953, and it has kind of like a cottage feel, like an English cottage feel, which is really cool. Definitely not our style, but we could make it amazing. So that's the very first thing that we noticed was old windows. Walking through the property, the floors are very creaky, but you know what? I can get over it. We go into the kitchen, and the kitchen is very closed off. It's very small, and we would definitely have to rearrange some appliances to even make that kitchen look Airbnb worthy. When I say Airbnb worthy, I literally just think, we need to make it trendy. We need to make sure that everything is safe so people don't, one, get hurt, and two, they don't get confused. And I know that, stovetop, people probably should not be getting hurt with that, but where this stovetop is right now, it is right next to the sink. Right next to the sink. And I don't think that that's the safest. So we will definitely have to rearrange the kitchen just to make it work. But again, it's doable. Are you knee-deep in renovations for your Airbnb and need a boost to keep you going? Look no further. Aloha has you covered with a clean, delicious protein bar that fuels your day without weighing you down. My husband and I are huge fans. Aloha protein bars are our daily go-to, especially when we're busy with projects. Unlike those protein bars that are literally just like candy bars that leave you feeling sluggish, Aloha plant-based protein bars are made from simple organic ingredients you can trust. Each bar tastes incredible and keeps us energized and ready to tackle whatever the day throws at us, renovations included. And guess what? You can get 20% off your first purchase with the code, the Airbnb Roadmap. That's 20% off feeling great and eating clean with Aloha protein bars. Head over to aloha.com and use the code, the Airbnb Roadmap today. These links are also in the show notes, so make sure to click on that and get your protein bars. Also with the kitchen, my husband, and I guess I believe in this as well, that everyone hangs out in the kitchen. And it's true, we have a really cool game room in our house, our personal property. It has shuffleboard, foosball, it's right next to the kitchen. It used to be a formal dining room. We changed it into a game room because I'm like, I'm never going to use this room, so let's actually make it cool. And whenever we have people, literally that's like exactly where they hang out is the kitchen. I'm like, guys, I have a really cool game room. Please hang out there. Stop hanging around the island. But if you've ever gone to a house party or anything like that, like the kitchen's where it's at. So I think my husband was a little turned off by the small kitchen because he's like, this is not a gathering area. And he's not wrong. People probably won't be hanging out in the kitchen for this short-term rental, but they have so many other places that they could be hanging out in. Now, going to the upstairs has 2 huge bedrooms. Like, when I'm saying huge, they are ginormous, which is awesome. There is also a bathroom up there, but no shower. So this property still only has 1 shower, which is not great for resale value. But for short-term rental, like, I don't think that's a huge deal because kids don't shower every single day. Some women don't shower every single day. Men, they tend to shower every single day, which, like, you do you. But like, I feel like 1 shower in the short-term rental is not a deal breaker for everyone. So I'm not really too worried about it like my husband is. But we did notice that there was some water damage on a couple of the walls, like primarily in the corners. And I think that was ice damage. Now again, if this was our very first rodeo, 1, we probably wouldn't even notice the water damage on the wall. And 2, we probably wouldn't have cared because we probably would have been like, hey, this house is so cool. Let's just get after it. But now that we know all this stuff, it's like, ooh, like, do we do it? How do we fix this water damage? The listing agent did say that happened before the new roof. And the new roof did get installed 3.5 years ago. But it's still like, it's there. So the water damage is a little frightening. Can we deal with it? Absolutely. Is it a deal breaker? I don't think so. But making our way to the basement, there's block foundation. I am not a big fan of block foundation for a couple of reasons. The first reason is I have seen block foundations lean inward or outward. So if you put your eye, or I guess your face, right up to the wall, you could see if the wall is straight up and down or if there's a tilt. That's one of the scariest things, I think, for any house that has block foundation is seeing the slant if it's leaning forward or backwards. Also, if there's a lot of cracking in the block foundation, that's a huge indication that there will probably be some issues, down the road. Now, this property had none of that. Like, the foundation looked really good, but it did have an old furnace, had an old water heater that will need to be replaced. And again, like, we are looking at this property to own for a while, so that's not a huge scare. But the basement is unfinished, and we could utilize, I would say, half of the basement and make it into like a gym, hangout spot, like anything like that. But that's also time and money. So I'm not really sure if we are actually going to finish the basement just because we are kind of on a tight deadline with this one with, some things coming up in 2025. So not sure if we'll actually do it, but there is actually room for growth in that property. And moving toward the garage. So there's a garage. It's a detached garage. It's a 3-stall. It's huge, but it's unfinished. Clay and I, mostly Clay, but he finished the garage in our personal home. And that was such a chore. And finishing garages are not cheap. So if we wanted to make that garage into a game room or something special, it's going to cost a lot of money. Now, I did think that we could maybe put like a pickleball court in there, but I think it just has 10-foot tall ceilings. And the ceiling is open, but you still have like all like the rafters and the stuff like that. So I'm not sure if that will work, but I'd still really want to utilize that space. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do in there because I just feel like a empty garage is such a wasted space, and I really want to utilize it. Now, again, with the knowledge part of this is if this was one of our first short-term rentals, we will be jumping on it. But now that we have done so many renovations and we know what guests like, we know what they say about our cabins, we are a little hesitant just because there is some work to do in this property, and it's not the top of our budget, but it's definitely the top of the budget in the area that we are looking at. Because there's a lot of houses around the area that are in the price range, but this is definitely like one of the higher ones, and it still has a lot of renovation. So do we wait and try to find something else that is a little bit lower in price and still do renovations? Or do we get this one and just bank that like the exterior is a scroll stopper? And I will admit, like, the interior will be a scroll stopper as well, but it's I don't know, I think it's the price, I think it's the amount of work that will need to be done in there, and the location is right next to a railroad as well. So yes, there's body of water, but it's also next to a railroad. The listing agent said that the train does not like do the horn, but it goes past at 10 o'clock every night, as well as 4:30 in the morning. Now, is that a big deal in my eyes? I personally don't think so, because if it's not making any noise, it shouldn't wake you up. And if it does, it's probably going to wake you up for like a second, and then you're just gonna go back to bed. So, is that a big deal? I don't think so. Now, the one thing that Clay and I did poorly is that we checked out another house right after we looked at this one, and we went inside first. We did get the little twinkle in our eye for the second property that we looked at, but again, we just looked at the inside, and the outside was a nightmare. So talk about black foundation. This one, literally you can see it from the exterior that it was leaning outward from the house. And then the listing agent tells me that there's no foundation issue. It's like, all right, man, like, I don't know what you're looking at, but I clearly see a lot of foundation issues, and the basement smelled very moldy. So you know that they had some water damage up in there, probably because the foundation's like crumbling. So that was like so devastating to us, because the inside we're like, yep, this is a go. The exterior we're like, oh my god, like I would never buy this ever, because it's literally like a nightmare. Like you have to redo the whole foundation just for it to be safe and sound for literally anyone. So we should have looked at the exterior first for that one. Did we know to do that? No, but we should have, because then we wouldn't have even walked inside to get our hopes up. Instead, we did the opposite. Went inside first, got the twinkle, and here we are of like, okay, we did not get this reaction with the first property. But again, the first property is still a very good opportunity. Now let's talk about the numbers for this property. And this is another hang up of like, we know a lot, we know what we're doing, but this is also one of those things that this market is, let's just say, it's not developed yet. I think it will be in the future, but not yet. So when you look at AirDNA, the revenue, like the projected revenue for this property, is just simply not where we like want it to be / need it to be. I think that AirDNA is incorrect for this one. But when it comes to lending, that is exactly what they look at, is the AirDNA. So we need to make sure that the property will still pass all the lending shenanigans based off of the current numbers. Now, we will be a trend starter for this market, meaning that we are going to get a designer for this property. We are also going to be one of the highest nightly stays in this market. And I think that there is actually kind of a need for it, because when we look at comps around the area of like other Airbnbs, all the other Airbnbs are very neutral. Like they are kind of boring. It's literally just like a typical home. There is not a single quote unquote scroll stopper in this area. So that will 100% be us. We will be that scroll stopper. Our nightly stays will be probably one of the higher ones, but people do travel to this area, and I think that we can get the revenue to be much higher than what Airbnb is actually saying right now. Now, is that a risk? Absolutely. But, if you don't take a risk, you're not going to get the reward. So I'm hoping that this is going to be one of those cases that we actually reap the reward from this risk. Now, a little fun fact is that in 2024, the average gross annual income, so average gross annual income for short-term rentals in the US is approximately $56,000. However, this obviously does vary dramatically based on the location and the property type, but that's kind of on point of, Airbnb said that this property is going to do less than this. I think that we're going to do higher. So fingers crossed if we do actually go with this property that, the revenue does shock us and we are happy people. So as I talk to you, you're probably like, all right, the whole education part is making sense now, because again, if this was one of our first short-term rentals, we would have been like, heck yeah, let's go for it. And we would just probably rush home, put an offer in, and just got it done. Well, now we're on, I think, day 3 of viewing the property, so 3 days after seeing it, and we are still debating on if we even want to put an offer on the property or not. I think what I'm leaning toward is we still put an offer on the house, but we are aggressive with it. It's been on the market for about a month and a half now. I don't think that anyone's really interested in it, especially with holidays happening and all that good jazz. So I think we just put an offer. We get really aggressive with the price and the credits and all that good jazz. And if they bite, awesome. If not, no harm, no foul. And I think that's the biggest difference between this property and our others, is that we were so emotionally involved that we were making a lot of poor decisions, aka waiving the inspection, giving up our unborn child pretty much just to get these properties. And this one, I really want to be more strategic about it and think like an actual investor rather than someone that just really wants a cabin. Because that's literally what I do for my clients every single day. So why not do it for my property and get the emotion out of there and actually think like a real estate expert and start negotiating. So I honestly think talking to you about this property has actually helped me realize what I want to do with it. I think it's still a go. We just need to make sure that we are definitely the scroll stopper in the area, which I think that our designers will do one hell of a job with this one, not gonna lie. I think it has a lot of potential to be really cute. But then also I want to make sure that our nightly stays are high and we actually get booked up because of it. Instead of people just going to the average Joe, I want them to go to our place and be like, wow, this was an experience. So that's the goal for this one. I'm hoping that we still put an offer in, to be quite frank, but obviously, like any couple, you have to talk it out with your significant other and make sure they are 100% on board, because if they aren't and there's something that happens to the property or something that goes wrong, they will probably point the finger at you and be like, well, you're the one who wanted it. And I'm not that type of person that, wants to go that route. So obviously you have to talk to Clay and make sure that he's 100% on board. Last night he was kind of wishy-washy and he kept on saying that he wants the property, but I can tell there was something off with him. So we will keep you updated and we'll see if we get this property, because everything that we talk about in these episodes are actually going to be real life. Well, they're already real life situations, but I guess real time situations, like renovations and whatnot. So It'll be a really fun time, and as always, I'll keep you updated. My Instagram will definitely be more up to date with all the shenanigans, so make sure to check that out. Follow our journey, and honestly, laugh at us if we made some foolish mistakes, because, we're not perfect. No property is perfect, like I always talk about, so it'll be a good one. Thanks for joining me on another episode of the Airbnb Roadmap. If you're loving these episodes and want to keep the conversation going, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with someone who's ready to dive into the world of short-term rentals. Got a question or topic you would love to hear about? Reach out. This podcast is all about growing and learning together. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the Airbnb Roadmap. Can't wait to see you there. Until next time, here's to turning your short-term rental dreams into thriving realities. I'll see you next time.